Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, January 23rd. Juan, Tonic, Vignesh, Young Flo, Sasha, good to see you.
Good to see you. Actually, I can't see you, but good to hear you.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so we have the agenda here. So let me paste it in the doc. Um, we can Zane, do you mind leading the pull request?
Sure. So there's this pull request here, and I believe this was Vignesh. You're here, right? Do you have a microphone? Are you able to talk?
Uh, Yeah, I'm here.
Hey. So I did the testing suite on your PR here, and it did not work. But I think that the problem with it. Oh, you commented. Let me see this. I did not see these comments. Maybe the failed test cases are from JS SDK. I see the test cases are already failing in main, so reverted my JS SDK changes. You can review the Python part alone. Okay, so let's see. Revert adding additional input. Okay. So I guess I need to take a closer look at this now with the changes that you made. So they're only for the Python SDK.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really hard to hear. Oh, can everyone else hear Dinesh? It's hard for me to hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, I hear you
Yeah.
better.
Okay. The only
Um,
thing with that was that we just needed to double check to make sure that the testing suite works with the SDKs. I think that was the the only element, which we should probably get that working in a CI/CD pipeline so that we can test it without, whenever our PR is made.
Yeah, perhaps you can share the testing suite, like you are like not URI, but like command line input to Vinesh on the pull request so that he knows exactly what to run to test it.
Okay.
I think there was some confusion on the pull request 13 hours
Uh,
ago where he wasn't sure how to run it.
yeah, we are having the shell script right. Test.sh. Is that the one you are talking about, or something different? I ran that one and it passed for Python.
It's say that again. I didn't quite catch your question.
Uh, yeah, under testing suite folder, you are having test.sh, right? The bash script.
It is the test.sh bash script.
Yeah, I ran that one and it passed for Python SDK.
Okay, good. I'll double check and
Oh,
then get a.
while we are at it, oh, so go ahead, Zane.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was wondering while we're at it, Vinesh, since you're new here, do you mind kind of sharing with us what you're using Agent Protocol for? Like what you're working on?
Yeah, yeah, I'm from India, so and now in our company we are developing a chatbot application where we want to have a standardized way of communication. So that's where I saw this agent protocol. So we are using
Mhm.
this one in our chatbot.
Do you mind letting us know what your company is called and how big is it?
uh, it is Solidon. It is quite small only, but it was around 25 years. Solidon
20 of
Technologies.
you? Okay. Um, do you mind kind of writing down in a chat like what the company is called so that we can keep track?
Yeah, sure, I will share.
Thank you. Yeah, so let us know how we can support you if you have additional feature requests. These type of every Tuesday we have meetings, and these meetings are where discussions on feature requests and more functionalities happen. So just keep us in the
Yeah,
loop.
sure.
Okay. Anything else on this pull request thing? Or
No, I just need to double check
okay,
it and then merge.
great,
Should be
awesome.
good.
So thank you. So next up, I kind of want to talk about merge. So I think like that's a really good idea, especially like we espouse this, really positive ecosystem for open source AI, not on the modeling side, but more on the infrastructure and tooling side. And I think we should start creating merges like hoodies, hats. And if anybody have ideas, feel free to post it in the AIEF marketing channel. And like ideas on like the design or ideas on like the type of items that could be good to have. If it's just like, I feel like hats are kind of popular these days, so maybe if you have like unique ideas, like less like bottles and stuff, but more just like other things, like we don't want to be like same with as everyone else, so like other ideas. I think it's a very exciting avenue that we're branching into, and ideas in like what items and also like design. If you have like a quick drawing of something, we could use you could use GPT or DALL-E, these type of things to generate as well. But so if you have generations, also post it there. We just want to make sure that the generations are like kind of in line with AIEF's philosophy and principle. And if you're not sure what our philosophy is, and you can go on the website AIE.foundation to see. We have 6. The second panel has highlights what our values are. And then with that, any questions with the merge?
You got like a 2-sentence version? Sorry, I got here late. Merge of what?
Oh, we're gonna have AIEF merge. This is something that I'm gonna be looking into for this week and next week. So we're gonna kind of print designs on items. We
Merch.
don't know which one yet. Merch, like merchandise.
Got it. I heard merge and I was like, wait, is there a corporate merger happening or something?
Yeah,
Cool,
so
yeah,
we
looks
we
cool.
are separately, we are joining Linux Foundation. So that is
Right.
that is also something that's going on, that I've been having weekly meetings with them. And when I have news, I will share like how the progress is. And right now we're kind of like formalizing the documents and figuring out the funding budget. So Linux Foundation is kind of guiding us through that process. But that's
That's so cool, by the way.
independent of the
Congrats.
merge. Yeah. We're going to have our own merge, not Linux Foundation merges, but yeah. Thank you.
Super exciting.
Awesome. So Flo, perhaps you can talk about the marketing side if you have any, like told me a really cool like spreadsheet that he built on AIEF Twitter. Like he mapped out like the Twitter, each tweet and their corresponding views and likes and whatnot. And he's been leading our the marketing efforts. So if you have something that you want to share with the people, this is your opportunity.
Yeah, one second. I'll switch so I can share my screen because I'm on a different computer. Just give me like 2 more seconds.
Okay, cool. In the meantime, if people have like cool demos that they see out there, feel free to post it in chat or talk about it.
Can you guys hear me on the? Oh yeah, my thing's moving. Okay, yeah, we're good.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Let's do spreadsheet. and then I can share my screen. Okay, I'm assuming you guys can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so basically what I did, I just scraped the tweets into a spreadsheet so we could kind of see the marketing efforts that the foundation has put out thus far. This starts with like the first tweet back in September, and I basically just tried to find the trends and then also like what the foundation has been tweeting about, and then also what worked the best. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the tweet with the most views. Like basically took this column and sorted. And this was a tweet, if I'm not mistaken, it's about um oh, this got a ton of input um from people on agents and like how like this whole additional input thing. So I think it got like a couple of replies if I'm not mistaken. Plus it was like a whole thread. I'm not logged in on to Twitter on this browser, so can't see it. Let me see if I can pull up a different browser actually. But I just kind of like poured over what has been working so far and what the foundation has been talking about, which isn't much. But it helped to me. It gave me like a mental model of like what works. Also did the same thing with YouTube. Because basically took the videos and just to see what videos got the most attention and like what the foundation has been talking about on YouTube so far. And it seems like the dev day, like the OpenAI dev day discussion got the most interaction, or maybe the most views. I can't say the most interaction because like 2 comments actually came in on a separate video, the titled "Discussion on What We Think an AI Agent Is." Like because I think there is a lot of discourse on like what an AI agent actually is. And then also the LinkedIn, but there hasn't been too many posts on LinkedIn, so there wasn't much to gather from that. And then as what like an extra step that I took yesterday basically was I went and looked at the Latent Space podcast Twitter because I feel like that's could be considered maybe a sister company or like maybe an inspiration to draw from when it comes to company accounts and basically just tried to pour over their tweets and what worked for them. This is actually an announcement tweet about I think when Code Interpreter was launched. Yeah, by OpenAI, and it was a space. And I don't even think this is their most popular tweet, but it got to 135,000 impressions, and a lot of engagement on that particular space. I thought that was an interesting insight. But yeah, just in general, just tried to compile some of the stats around uh, like basically the marketing efforts of not only the foundation but other because I pulled in a couple of other accounts as well. It's really hard to do once you get past a couple of thousand tweets, but like for the lower like the accounts with a lot less tweets, it's easier to do this type of stuff like and basically just see what's working, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much all I have to share, but yeah, I don't know if you guys find that interesting or like helpful or whatever, but to me, it gave me a good idea on like what should be tweeted and then what's worked in the past. You know what I mean? Like what we can maybe focus on going forward. So um, that's pretty much all I had on the marketing side. I will say, Vignesh, I'm glad you came today. Like you participated, and if I don't know if you got a chance to type in. I'm like slacking a little bit. If you got a chance to type, oh, it's Saul on tech. But I'm interested to hear because like one of the questions we asked last week was basically what was I gonna say? One of the questions that I asked last week is what are you working on and how can we help you? And I think you've already shared a bit about like what you've been working on like in your company name and stuff like that. But if you could maybe share how we can help you,
Uh,
I think that would be nice. And that's
yeah,
pretty much all I have though.
yeah. I actually have one request for agent protocol. We are facing a issue in our development. So we are using multiple workers in our chat application, but you are having a in-memory DB, right? So that one is a issue for us. If uh, if we create a task and then to execute the step, if another worker got activated, it won't happen, right? So for that one, I referred AutoGPT Forge, and they are having a SQL DB, but that is not easily portable. So it would be better if you provide the SQL DB also. We need a shared memory uh, to be working with the multiple workers, because multiple workers in chat application is a common thing, right? Do you get it?
Yeah, you said what was the last thing you said? Multiple what? What was that word?
Yeah, multiple workers in the sense
Oh, okay,
in
worker.
deployment. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that, man.
yeah. You
So to clarify, you create the we typically create the task to execute and then execute steps like from the task, and when you say what did you mention with when another worker gets created? You mentioned
yeah.
that there is an issue.
Yeah, the problem is we are having an in-memory DB, right? We are just storing in a dictionary the task and the steps and all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if multiple workers are instantiated, and let's say I have two workers, worker 1 and 2, and if I create, I sent a request to create a task, and the task is created in worker 1. So it maintains a separate dictionary, worker 2 maintains a separate dictionary. Now I want to execute a step. The request can either go to worker 1 or worker 2. What if it goes to worker 2? The task is not present in the dictionary. So there a problem happens because the memory is not shared.
I
Yeah,
see.
I see.
Yeah, and AutoGPT Forge also using agent protocol, right? So I saw their code. They are using a SQL database. I tried porting that one, but it's not that much easy. They are having, or it is tied to their code. So it would be better if you give a template to use SQL database or any shared memory.
So the way that I think that Zane, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I think to approach this is have worker 1 and worker 2 have shared memory. And so when worker receives the task, worker 1 receives the task, it writes out whatever its memory to a shared database, where and then same goes for worker 2. And when it executes the step, it just pulls from the shared memory. This is how I would architect it. And I'm pretty sure this is what AutoGPT, you're saying that's how AutoGPT is doing it, right? Like that shared memory is SQL you mentioned?
Yeah, AutoGPT is doing the same, but in agent protocol, uh, uh, we are not having that template kind of thing to directly use it.
Yeah, there's
So
nothing
you,
in the agent protocol that specifies any kind of database layer. So there's it's purely the function of it. It's not the storage.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a storage, but can you provide an interface for the storage? Uh, if we will provide the SQL URL, right? So we have to define, I think, some 5, 6 methods for it. If we inherit the in-memory DB and override all those methods for SQL DB, it's quite uh, time-consuming task for us.
Okay.
I
Probably
thought
like
it is a
an
common
example. Which what language are you using?
Python.
Python. Maybe a Python example that has database integrated, SQLite or something like that could be useful. Um, that way you get sort of
Uh,
a boilerplate
yeah,
to get started.
yeah. The AutoGPT Forge itself is an example. Maybe I could share the link if I get it.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and you already thought of these things. I think it is very a common problem. Or you thought it will not come under the agent protocol scope?
Can you repeat your last question?
I think he's asking if
Yeah,
well if that'll be in the scope in the future, like in the agent protocol scope. Is that what you're asking?
yeah, yes.
So so this, I think it depends on how complicated it is. And if you are in a rush to want to get that done, perhaps what we would appreciate is for you to like help contribute to that part of our Python SDK. And since you're doing it for your company anyways, it might help to have what you're doing be a reference. The SDK is as non-opinionated right now. It's like not very opinionated on like what you use as a database. So I think like it's partially by design because we don't want to dictate what people should use database wise. Like most of our work predominantly is focused on kind of like the schema changes that we have, and there are some like additional tooling work. The tooling work is much lighter than I feel like the schema is more core of like what agent protocol is. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, sure. I didn't mean to implement a database. It is also implementing an interface to support SQL database. Yeah, and we are not in rush. Actually, we have paused the development and focusing on some other aspects due to this limitation. So it would take some time for us to come back to this.
When you say interface to the database, what are you referring to specifically? Because like my understanding is that each application have a different unique way that they interface with the database, right? So yeah, like what are you specifically referring to?
You are aware of that in-memory DB, right? In agent protocol. So that one will have some 5 to 6 methods that will be accessed by the agent protocol, either to create a task or create a step. So those things you will be defining how to store. If someone is creating a task, how to store that in the in-memory DB, that is a Python dictionary. So if we want to use the SQL database, we have to define those things, how to store in the SQL database. So those kind of things will come under agent protocol's responsibility, right? So
I see. Yeah, I see. So like a standardized template for the agent protocol task type, like data types, like task and steps. I was more thinking that it's the agent's responsibility to decide what to store in the database. So they may not decide to store the task and DB construct. It might store like whatever is relevant for the task, right? Because the agent might generate additional metadata information that is outside of the data format.
Yeah, database, it's a part of a protocol, right? So in that in-memory DB, you will be if one task is stored only, we can fetch from that and execute, right? So what I expect as a user is if I want to use SQL, I will be already having a SQL DB running in my server. I will just give the URL, and I expect the agent protocol to have a SQL interface. And if I give the URL and the credentials, I expect it to work. So that's how other SDKs also I have seen.
I see. Okay. Yeah. We can definitely discuss this as like a part of multi-agent as a part of multi-agent discussion. We earlier on in one of our earlier sessions, we did talk about multi-agent and doing kind of protocol level support in terms of like schema changes and whatnot to allow for multiple collaborating agents. So I'm seeing some comments here. Okay, I think the comments are kind of not really super related. Maybe Flo and Yikes and Juan it's not related to this discussion, right?
Yes,
I think Juan did ask him.
I put one. Yeah, I was asking him if you had tried GraphQL. I'm not sure if it works in Python, but I believe it is, because that's a way to get to a SQL database without having a driver or anything. Is like using a REST API to connect and use an SQL database.
I think GraphQL is a bit different. Maybe you continue the meeting. I will get the AutoGPT forge and we can discuss on that.
Yeah, I would love to see like a proposal. If you can submit like issues, like to keep track of the discussion, that would be great because we can comment. I'll comment on the issue. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Okay, we have 2 minutes before Cyrus hops onto the call to give us a deep dive on the Legos framework. Really just want to use these 2 minutes to like open up the floor to anybody if people want to say something. This like any cool demos that you've seen, any comments on anything?
And I wanted to tell you guys, Java is going good for this side. I had this weekend a meeting with the guys that Jakes told me to talk about, and we are trying to implement the agent solution for the company I'm working for. I have to do some testing with ChatGPT, and I would let you post it in if it goes well or if I have some trouble.
Sounds good. Thanks, Juan. And yeah, let us know how we can help. Yikes, do you want to announce your little hackathon going on?
Always, sure, yeah, yeah. So far it seems like we're still on track for this Saturday. I think we're starting at 10 a.m. and then we are stopping on Sunday at 11 a.m. Have secured, I think, one more sponsor, and then
What time
time zone is PST. I guess I'll throw a link to the server in which it is happening that I need to clean up a little bit more before I have company over, but we will that's where we're gonna have it. We got a couple of sponsors. We got and we are working on getting the open source store hopefully live and at least functional by the time things are going, or by the time the event kicks off. And then in addition to, so we're gonna put up some endpoints for inference for the event proper, but also for people who it's relevant for. I guess I don't have official confirmation yet, but some of the prizes may be like a month free compute on like A100s and possibly some H100s. So if you know, I don't know if that's interesting to anybody that you know, then shoot some invites their way, I suppose. But yeah, everything looks like it's gonna happen. So it's just I have to, I guess, keep doing things that I think are going to make it happen correctly. So yeah, I guess I'll see everybody. Hopefully, I'll see everybody there on Saturday.
Awesome. Yeah, I am excited. Thank you, Yike.
Sounds fun.
So we have Cyrus here. Cyrus, feel free to take it away.
Great. Hello, everybody. My name is Cyrus. Thanks so much, Jesse, for Sasha, for inviting me. I'm a little sick right now, so please forgive. I may be slow here or there. I'm here to talk to everybody about scaling AI. So I'm going to start off telling you a little bit about myself, my journey, and we're going to talk about how we scale AI. That'll be the lead in to introduce Legos. Then it's like, okay, what is Legos? What's the North Star? And then we'll have some questions and comments at the end. Sweet. So, hey everybody, I'm Cyrus. One of my heroes is Leonardo da Vinci, and lately for the past few months, I've been using the mantra of letting the universe express itself through me. And this is the image Dolly came up with, which I thought was kind of cool and a little psychedelic. Right now, I'm the
Hold on,
chief
Cyrus.
We don't see the screen.
Oh,
Yeah, it looks like you're
We see
streaming your
Discord.
Discord.
oh, that explains it. Here we go. Screens. Now you can see everything. You can see this? Here?
Yep.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
see it.
Okay, thank you. This is the image that Dolly came up with. I thought it was pretty cool. And now I'm the Chief Product and Technology Officer at Inset, where we use AI to help Fortune 500s decarbonize value chains. I'm implementing tracing and metrics in DSPy, which I'm pretty excited for. I'm doing some freelancing until Inset raises money, and I'm advising a crypto startup building tools for distinguishing between virtuous actors and non-compliant actors. And I come a long way. I started learning how to program in 2012, first with Ruby on Rails, then Elixir and TypeScript, and lately Python. I've been really lucky on this journey. When I graduated from high school, I got offered a job, and that led to me being a lead engineer, then interim CTO at a Series A Toronto marketing tech startup. Then I went to the University of Waterloo to study systems design engineering, and then left because it felt stifling. I during my last term, I was actually the founding CTO of a Gen AI app named Wombo AI, which got 100 million downloads in 6 months. I'll send a funny video for folks to watch later of what it actually does. And then in 2022, I got invited to be the CTO of two seed-funded climate blockchain startups dealing with carbon credits and securitization. But it was last year in February that I saw AutoGPT and Baby AGI storm onto the scene. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I feel like this is a place where I can, play with AI. I hadn't really gotten deep into the PyTorch side of things, though I had taken some courses on that. And then I wondered, okay, given that we as humans, we work collectively and not alone, that within ourselves also we have many selves. There's just not one me, there's many parts in me. How come all we're seeing are like solo agents with a single thought loop? So I learned enough LangChain to create a proof of concept where we had an infinitely nestable tree of manager worker agents, and the managers did like a plan, delegate, check, adjust control loop inspired by the plan, do, check, act iterative design and management method. They could delegate tasks to the appropriate child agents and assign them and model dependencies. And in my test, it kind of looked like this, where you could create different children and create a parent and assign some children to the parent. You could nest that infinitely deep and then give a high level task to the root, which it would then appropriately delegate to the right children. So I did that, where the workers were were LangChain agent executives, and I got featured on LangChain's blog, which was really cool. So I got lucky again, and I'm really grateful for the world for doing that. They said this was the first time that multiple agents are acting in parallel. Pretty cool. But with the POC, I had cut a lot of corners, and I really, in the end, I had only just discovered a shape for multi-agent systems. And I realized we needed better tools for discovering shapes. We don't need different types of networks. We need a tool to explore the types of networks that we can create. And that's when the seed for Legos was born. I showed it to Guohao Li, was the lead at Camel AI, and Karen and Shannon at Nurse Research. I got lucky again. They invited me to join them and work with them for some time, which was really sweet. So now let's talk about scaling AI. How do we scale computing? Well, there's typically two axes of scale. There's vertical and there's horizontal. And we see this with GPUs, we see this with application servers, we even see this with biology, where bigger brains are scaling vertically and collaborating is scaling horizontally. Sooner or later, we hit the limit with vertical scaling. That's when we need to figure out how to scale horizontally. So what does scaling AI look like? This is that little chart that Karpathy tweeted a couple months ago, I believe, where here you have LM as the CPU. And if the CPU industry is any indicator, then it's not just how fast you can go with like Pentium 4, but it's also how many cores can you have. And so the vertical scaling happens with foundational models, with like agent thought loops sometimes, and the shape is different model architectures lately with the state space models, or more broadly with transformers. And we often use PyTorch to explore this terrain. And the people who can really make a difference here are the OpenAIs and the Microsofts and the Googles and the Teslas, folks who have large access to capital and large access and access to a lot of data. The other lever of scale is concurrency, and it's currently being explored, and we're seeing a lot of different projects from, a baby Fox AGI, I believe it was, Meta GPT, which is like a software dev team. Both of these were like that. Crew AI is getting popular really these days. And there's different shapes of multi-agent systems. And I propose that Legos can be a tool for us to explore that design space. So now I have a bit of a claim to make, and you may disagree with me. I would be excited if you disagreed with me. I would be curious to see why. And my claim is that AGI is going to be a multi-agent system. And if we're going to discover its shape, we need to explore the design space of shapes. And whereas PyTorch helped us explore design space of neural networks, Legos is meant to help us explore the design space of agent network. Because here's the endgame plan. An intelligence made up of a dynamic network of agents that can coordinate each other, that can spawn, modify, or remove agents from that network. And so just like imagine, a new sub-agent being dynamically written to handle a specific task, kind of like how in Voyager, it would create its own tools or repeatable procedures that then it could compose to craft different items in Minecraft. Or an agent for now, or you could pass, a list of tools or a list of other agents to message to an LLM, with function calling or tool use, and say, hey, this is what you can do. Here's the task. Who should you delegate to? Who should you send the message to? I think that'd be particularly exciting. But there are some challenges to concurrency around data access, race conditions, and communication, system complexity. It's not as straightforward as just like, okay, here's one agent that's going on. So luckily, smarter people than I have spent a lot of time figuring out two main proven models of how to do concurrent computation. The first one is called communicating sequential processes, or CSP. You can imagine this as like workers and conveyor belts, where these nodes are workers and then they pass data between them through conveyor belts. And we see this in Golang, we see this in Clojure. Trio and Python supports this, and it's really intuitive for data pipelines and chains when you're thinking about it, because you can map reduce. Map reduce really falls elegantly into the communicating sequential processes model of concurrent computation. There's also the actor model, where you have different actors who receive email or mail, and it goes into their mailbox, and they process the messages one at a time in order. This is, when you look at this, it's actually maps a lot to how, human, like an actor is kind of like a human, an agent's kind of like an actor. And this model has been used to great success in Elixir and Erlang and the Akka framework in Scala and the JVM. And it's very intuitive for agents because an actor is just an agent that can be run concurrently without falling prey to race conditions. Actors communicate with messages, and really one of the core principles of the actor model is that everything can be an actor, which makes it a really elegant abstraction for the design space that we're working. So what do I mean by that? Let's take a look at actors with Legos and map it to some concepts that we're more familiar with in LLM agents. Tools are just actors. You can create like a web search for actor that receives a search request and then returns search results. You could create like a Gmail actor, and that receives a message to draft a message, content driven. And you could receive a message to search an email inbox. So it acts as kind of like a way to organize your code as well. This one, there are different pairwise shapes in multi-agent systems. There's like the operator assistant shape, which is how we use ChatGPT. When we use ChatGPT, we're the operator and the assistant is ChatGPT, and you can model that in Legos by creating like a shell human, which we're just using the input here. You have like a shell bot, just this is their mocked AI bot, and they have a message type that can go between them. And you initialize your different actors. You create a message that you send between them. And I run this test, I can. Poetry shell. I test SVK human. Maybe shell input. And then I need to add shell. Here, enter an initial message. Hello. This is the bot receive new message, shell message. Here's some details about the message. Messages have parents. It's kind of like email semantics, so you can reply to them, you can forward them. Another one. And then it got that message too. There's teacher student. So we've seen examples of this in Voyager, where there's like and Camel AI, where there's like a curriculum agent, and there is an actual agent. Here we have like a student with a particular state. Again, very like mocked information, mock data, because one of the things with Legos is not meant to be very opinionated about how you call your LLMs or what APIs you use. It's totally agnostic. You could use outlines, you could use OpenAI, you can use Hugging Face transformers, whatever you want. This is just meant to show how you can scaffold the structure between the different agents in a system in a way that is hopefully intuitive and self-explanatory. So here's a student which can receive a teaching where it appends the teaching to its learnings and then returns an ACK message, for example. Here's a teacher doing that, and some tests where you have students asking teachers questions, testing how students reflect. And you can also compose actors together, kind of like how you might compose different neural network modules into a more complicated block. Here's a learning teacher that delegates to its underlying student and teacher implementations to be able to handle both situations. There are network shapes. For example, MapReduce. MapReduce, you can express MapReduce in the actor model as well, where you can have like receive a map request, it returns a map response. There's a reduce request, reduce response. Here it's taking a list of sources and returning a list of unique sources. And then you can create a map reducer. One of the nice things about the actor model is if your interfaces conform, you can easily go and unlock that infinitely nestable paradigm, where you can get more complex behavior coming out of it. If that message was for me, please say it out loud. Somebody send a message in the chat. Can you explain about the first block? Yes, I can explain about that first block. I will explain about that at the very end, just to not interrupt the flow. Thanks, Vignesh. There's Jan LeCun posted this presentation a couple months ago. I think it was probably last year, where he talked about, how does he imagine? Oh, I'm not a bot. Oh, I'm not a bot. Let me through. Go Google. But he said, okay, here's like how we can model cognitive architectures for objective-driven AI. Here we have like, you might say, oh, this is one brain, so it's one agent. This is where you can also use the actor model to break apart that one agent into different sub-agents or sub-actors. You could have, I did a little, here we go, this was his presentation, goes through a lot of different stuff, and eventually gets to this brain architecture, where here we have like a percept, we have an action. Here we have a class percept, a class action. There's a cost. And these are messages, right? Cost is a message. You have the cost behavior, which is this whole red thing over here. You have a cost behavior with like a forward and a backward method. You can have a reward message. There's a reward behavior with a forward and a backward method. Have a graph underlying it, so you can do a little bit of tree search, action behavior, world model behavior, and then like executive behavior that composes everything together. And there's also like ContractNet, which is a pretty cool model that I discovered. Again, somebody else discovered this, somebody else invented this. I by no means made this up. But ContractNet is a protocol where if you have like one manager agent and n contractor agents, how can the manager decide what contractor agent's best to delegate to? And so the manager requests like a plan by calling for a proposal from a contractor. The contractor can respond. The manager can say, revise your plan, or it can say nope, or it can say accept. The contractor does the work and then informs the manager of the result, or says, I messed up, I can't do it. And you can implement something like this in Legos pretty simply. And I'll show you, I'll actually put both on my screen at the same time so you see. Call for proposal, reject. This is just part of the plan, step ID. So propose, accept, cancel, inform, response. This was, I added that one actually. And then you have a contractor. So you look at this contractor, you're like, okay, which arrows point to the contractor? Call for proposal. So here's receive, call for proposal. And it returns a propose or reject. Okay, it receives accept, it receives reject. You implement those. You go to your manager, you do the same thing. You see what arrows point to it. So here we have like propose pointing to it, accept. Or is accept? I changed one of these two. Oh, actually, there's a reason I put accept. I'll explain that in a second. There's receive, reject, to receive, inform, receive, cancel, and all of those. And this manager also implements the receive, reject, and receive, call for proposal, and receive, accept. So it can act as a contractor too. And that's what lets us, not only say, okay, here's a manager with a bunch of contractors, but it also lets you say, here's a manager with a bunch of contractors and also another manager that it can delegate to with a bunch of contractors. So, you can create these pretty like, if you have your chart, you can turn that into Legos structure pretty reasonably and then put your LLM calls where you want them with your custom logic. So what are your options if you're trying to use actors in Python? There's these two libraries that are missing async and not strongly typed, so you can't actually have typed messages with structure. Going through them and return them and get the type inference that you're looking for. Ray actors work as when they're synchronous, but their async actors aren't actually actors because they don't process messages one by one. So using Ray async actors to implement actors, you actually run into race conditions through unsafe data mutation. Dapper actors look pretty cool actually. Legos might end up using Dapper actors as the underlying actor implementation. It was a little complicated to start with as an AI practitioner, so some work could be done in giving a better user interface to it, or user developer experience to it. So, last 3 minutes. PyTorch, Legos, PyTorch for multi-agent systems. Okay, we've got some goals here. We want to make simple made easy. We want an elegant and expressive developer experience. We want to accelerate multi-agent R&D, and also have this standard way, easy way to do research that can easily be transformed into production environments by providing the substrate for people to implement the different Legos or building blocks. Just like how in PyTorch we have a conv 2D or a linear or ReLU or maxpool 2D, what do those reusable building blocks look like in multi-agent systems. Let's go discover those and have it in a way that it's compatible with other frameworks. Some non-goals. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. Bring your own LLM. You want to use whatever you want to use. By all means, let's leverage existing libraries. I'm using Pedantic quite a bit. Pedantic is great. There's other libraries that are great. Maybe Dapper, for example, for the actor implementation. That's also great. And it's not a goal to provide a particular multi-agent shape like Crew AI, Baby AJ, Meta GPT. It's about giving you the tool to explore the shapes that can be made. And here is the whole roadmap. Stabilize the synchronous API. This is for researchers because we don't want to get people confused about async this, async that, whatever. Let's stabilize the API around something synchronous that's easy to use for researchers. Then create an async API so that there's a path from research to development, and then provide a path to deployment where it's async. Maybe we have distributed hosts, something around SQL persistence. It's important to take into account the needs of the community and the users of this library when considering, for sure. We've started a fire with some wonderful people. Here's what some wonderful people have to say about Legos. Max Paperclips, who's a founding engineer at News, said, "Oh, we're gonna then do multiple agents communicating and coordinating. I wonder who has a good framework for that." Remy Louf from Outline said, "Actor model for the win." Omar from DSPy is just generally supportive. Here's Joey Dav, who was a Hugging Face data science alum, currently doing his PhD at Utah, and the advisor said some things here. He said, "I definitely think the actor model has a place somewhere in all of this." Woha was kind enough to say that the abstractions are pretty impressive. And here's Jason at Cape Privacy, who says, the library looks awesome. I've been evaluating a few different agent frameworks for project and work, and I really appreciate some of these design decisions over a lot of what's been done out there. There is the beginning of some industry interest. Jason at Cape Privacy, they are evaluating using Legos for an upcoming system, implementing the same thing in Legos and LangChain using their homegrown approach, and they've offered to give me feedback after that's done. And then Pioneer Climate and NSET are both planning to consider using multi-agent systems. They really like how it can help them with stakeholder analysis and identifying the relevant grants for climate startups or matching enterprises with relevant climate tech companies. And I could really use help on certain parts of this. We're looking for passionate hackers who want to create the future with us to grow the fire and fuel the AGI. I could specifically use help with like a program manager sort of person to help organize and lay out a roadmap and help coordinate among different implementors. A Google Colab guru to create examples integrating LangChain or LLM Index would be really cool. I have DMs with Harrison and Jerry, so I think we could get them to retweet it. And some Python wizards who can help implement generic types or who can help with the async implementation. And I'll leave this one for it. So I'll go to questions and comments. And I will go to Discord. Oh, hey, Joey, you're here. Sweet. Yes, there we go.
Hello.
Actually, looks like Young Flo tweeted the tweet. Not much on what the system does, thought-provoking. Cool. Okay, I'll stop here and open the floor to comments, questions, thoughts, feedback, all the above.
I think Vinesh has a question related to the doc that Kapati, the graph Kapati posted.
Yeah.
That,
Tell me, Vignesh, how can I help answer that? What are you looking for?
yeah, I just want to know about your thoughts on that because as Ziggy said, it's thought-provoking, and as far as I saw that, what I thought of that system is they're having many inputs, right? Video, audio. So on a high level, what they're talking is putting the LLM large language model inside the core of the system and taking all the file system as embeddings and video audio as input. So, but I can't imagine how that would be. Like if in my laptop, if I use this one, how would I be operating? So I can't get into that thoughts. So what do you think about this one?
My interpretation of this is that in traditional computing, you write code to encode the arithmetic or the jumps, and then it's the CPU that executes that logic as you've explicitly defined. Here, Karpathy is suggesting that we can use natural language. Again, this is my interpretation, suggesting that we can use natural language to have the language model decide whether to jump here or jump there, what it should do within the action space that it has access to. And so the things around the edges are like tools in traditional agent parlance, and the LLM in the middle would be like the agent. And does that help answer your question? I'm also like, I mean, Karpathy tweeted this, so I'm just conjecturing here.
Yeah, there are many perspectives on this, right? Like, is it in the it is like giving access to our system to the LLM and staying in the chat, open file explorer, that kind of thing, or is it like once in GPT vision is released, I saw one another uh, LLM agent that what it does is every frame in our system it will feed into the system and it is like somebody is always watching our screen. So uh, uh, if we tell it to uh, search something on the YouTube, it is having access to our screen, right? It knows where the Google Chrome is. It will click and go to YouTube and search something. So that is kind of that one. But it is further higher level, right? So that's why I'm wondering how it would be.
Yeah, I think like, Open Interpreter I think is doing a lot of really good work implementing something around these lines. I brought this on within the presentation to highlight a similarity between language models and CPUs for us to be able to draw some insights on how we scaled CPUs to how we might scale language models. Where, I think Pentium 4 was like, okay, we've hit a ceiling of on the efficacy curve, and then AMD came along and was like, okay, now we need more cores. And it's this back and forth where some people work on increasing on vertically scaling and then others on horizontally scaling. I'm not OpenAI, so I can't really do vertical scaling, but I can do horizontal scaling. Skills.
Yeah, you think this one as a performance improvement thing? I think it is a way of using our computer. We don't know why it is just very less information. These are just our thoughts. But uh, uh, what I see here is what if an LLM is in my laptop? So the way I interact with other applications, how it would be. So is that the way you are thinking, or you think it's a performance improvement?
I think the way you're describing is best exemplified by Open Interpreter and what they're trying to do, and I guess maybe the Rabbit AI folks with what they're doing. I think the way I'm imagining it more so is given a particular LLM foundational model, it can only it has a ceiling on the level of the complexity of the task that it can do. We could use LLMs and task decomposition to distribute work over a set of specialized actors to be able to accomplish more complex tasks with the LLMs we have today, rather than waiting on OpenAI to do GPT 4.5. And even when they do GPT 4.5, that one GPT 4.5 has a limit of the complexity that it can handle, but NGPT 4.5 scales the complexity that can be handled by that system.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe not
I just not
linearly, but
seeing that open interpreted. Thanks for that new resource, and thanks for your answer.
any other questions?
Yeah, I was in the announcement tweet about Legos. You had one of the images where you went from a diagram to I'm trying to find it now. Sorry, I'm so like recovering. I'm sick. But you had a tweet that I put in the AIEF marketing channel that basically
Mhm.
was a diagram of like going from manager to contractor. And I was wondering
Yes.
if any of the tests in the GitHub repo like outline how you go from this to code, because that's basically what the tweet was saying.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that um, diagram is a souped up version of this diagram, which is implemented as the test 5 contract net.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you got the manager, the contractor, and this is just this diagram is only showing 2 of them. The diagram in the tweet shows more of them and potential tool use. You could in any of these methods, you could put in logic to go and use whichever tools you want, and then return the appropriate message.
For sure, that
And
makes sense. I have to take a look at test number 5. I think you said.
yes,
And,
yes, sir. I
and
can paste the link to that if that's helpful.
for sure, yeah, I was kind of browsing around the repo now, but yeah, that would be helpful. Um, and then the next thing, because like I guess one of the main ways that you put on the README of the GitHub repo is like one way we can help is to but basically play around with the framework and create issues, and that's something I really want to do. But I have a question about basically like very curious if something like this could be like, could I use something like LM Studio, or like, because I run a couple of language models locally, and I was wondering if I could use something like LM Studio or VLLM or Llama Index, like whatever.
That's a really
I
good
guess.
question, and I
Yeah.
noticed in the AIEF marketing channel, you also said like, what can Legos replace in agent systems today? I'm assuming
Mhm.
LangChain or GPT. I think both of I can answer both that question and the one you just asked.
Mhm.
Legos is meant to extend those other libraries. You could use VLLM, you could use Olama, you could use LangChain or AutoGPT in the implementation of your Legos actors. Actually, like your MVP for a Legos actor is probably creating a Legos class, Legos actor class, and then having a LangChain agent executor in it. And that's the actor, that's the agent implementation underneath. And that actor can receive different messages, and based on what message you receive, you can call the agent executor with different types, for example. So you could use whatever LLM or other library you want. There, like I could even imagine probably taking Crew AI and putting it underneath a Legos actor, and then there's an actor which has a crew, and so it's meant more so to extend the other libraries rather than replace them.
I see. Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. Do
I
you
have a
have
little.
anything?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll keep
You
it.
first. You first. I'll load it. I'm something.
Basically, I was wondering if anywhere in the repo under the test you have like an example of what that looked like. Okay, I should have prefaced this before I started asking questions, but I'm asking from from the perspective of someone who has a very smooth brain. I have no wrinkles in my brain, and that's true. So I'll just like the easier for me to like grok it. It's basically how I'm asking these questions. So I was wondering if you have an example of what that would look like. Like if I have LM Studio open and I have a language model loaded. Do you have like an example of that, or is that something I could maybe contribute?
That's something you could definitely contribute. I would be happy to. I don't have an example of it right now, and I would be happy to do like a pair programming session with you on that to help you get started. This
For
was
sure.
to your broader question. This was a tweet Omar made a few days ago, where him and his friends created this little diagram of different frameworks and where they fit into the language model, LLM space. So you can see like control generation, schema driven, prompt engineering utilities, compilation, open-ended. And the thing you might notice is the thing I want to highlight here is that AutoGen, AutoGPT, and MetaGPT all give you specific shapes of multi-agent systems, but they don't give you the PyTorch to express the different shapes in multi-agent systems. And that like one thing I say sometimes is you could implement MetaGPT using Legos, but you couldn't implement Legos using MetaGPT. It's a higher level thing. And then Omar said, "Your favorite clothes?" And they're absolutely. We wrote this several weeks ago. Maybe when they do an update. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions from if you have any young flow or other people?
No, I think that was it. I just kind of did a conscious stream of thought in AI marketing, like, and basically kind of went over the announcement tweet in the GitHub repo and came up with questions. And I'll be honest, this is the first time in looking at agents that it kind of made sense to me. Like when you said multi agents, they talk to each other via basically emails. And I thought like
Right.
I thought there was a guy that in your GitHub repo, he raised an issue wanting to somehow implement
Open
Lego.
interpreter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fire. That's one of the like to me, open interpreter. The fact that you can run it on your computer is, in my opinion, it's like one of the only actual agents we have out there. Like, I'm very new to the agent space, like within the last couple weeks, and I looked, and it seems like a lot of like hype and cool demos, but maybe not anything useful. And I know like there's a lot of disagreement around that statement, even specifically within the foundation. But anyways, reading your GitHub and the announcement tweet made me kind of like better understand. So I appreciate you for that, if nothing else.
Thanks,
And then
man.
I think the only other comment, are you familiar with Yassine on Twitter?
Yes, it sounds familiar, but I can't place
Oh,
him
Cash.
or them.
I'll share his stuff with you. You remind me of him, but you're like a more professional, sane version. He's like the unhinged version
What?
of you.
Oh.
Okay,
I
okay, I
appreciate
can
it.
see it.
Yeah, no facts.
Uh,
But yeah, no, it's thank you for the presentation. I'll let you take the floor back.
one last thing I'll say, and I'll give the floor to Sasha. Thanks so much for bearing with this little long extended question period. And this speaks to one question you asked, Young Flo, in the AIF marketing channel. You said, "I was with you all the way up until networks and infinitely nestable." What do you mean by infinitely nestable, Cyrus? Okay, here's what I mean. All right, so I'm going to use Sasha. May I use you as an example here? Awesome. So I am Cyrus, Sasha is Sasha, and we each have a brain. And in our cells, we have many subcells. However, we can also collaborate with each other within this network of AI Engineer Foundation, which is so AI Engineer Foundation is a multi-agent system with all of us in this room here. And then each one of us is also a multi-agent system in our head. And so this is what I mean by the nestability. To be able to express the complexity of cognition, where we are made of multiple selves. I have my 8-year-old self in me somewhere. I have my like 15-year-old self, some traumatized self somewhere in the corner I can't find. You know what I mean? So there's all of these little selves in here. And if I wanted to express that as a agent, I feel limited by the existing agent frameworks because there's just one thought loop. There's no way for me to express that problem, that structure. And then not only, okay, am I a multi-agent system? Is Sasha a multi-agent system? But within AI Engineer Foundation, it's also a multi-agent system of multi-agent systems. So to be able to nest these systems together, to be able to model relationships in different networks. So I know, Sasha, we're here right now in AI Engineer Foundation, but you and I both have like personal lives, and that's a different network. And so we should be able to express, here's an agent, with this set of messages it can receive or whatever. And then in this network, it has these relationships. And then in this other network, it has these relationships, and it can live in both networks simultaneously. That mind map is what inspired me to work on Legos, because I was like, how do I express this using the coding tools we have? And it came up short. I hope that was not that. I hope that didn't add to the confusion. Young Flo. I saw a lot of you nodding from Shaka, so I feel like she got it. But other people
Yeah,
with no video.
it definitely makes sense. Like the fact that you said we have separate lives, or even like selves within ourselves, like you said, your 8-year-old self, or you maybe when you're in the zone and like coding, or like you when you're just out with friends partying. It's like different age, like, or actors, I guess, within yourself. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. Anybody else? I'm gonna do a countdown.
There's a chat by Unicornist.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it says, was there any particular problem you were trying to solve, like a specific multi-agent system that you were initially trying to build?
Ooh, was there a specific multi-agent system I was trying to build? So the challenge I was looking to solve in creating Legos was that the agent actors thing I made last year was explicitly hierarchical, and human networks aren't explicitly hierarchical. They may have hierarchies within them, but they're more of like an interconnected web. So I wanted to be able to express that. In working on this, I imagined applying it to my to the problem space at Inset and Pioneer Climate around having like a really good RAG for here's all the documents explaining what this climate tech company does. Here's all the documents explaining what this what do you call it? This enterprise with a value chain. And then instantiating an agent that has access to those RAGs, and then having these two have a conversation where like now there's a third human. You could add a human operator in the conversation to guide it. In the case of optimize or reduce decarbonizing supply chains, and it's often not just one partner you need, but you need many partners. So being able to say like, okay, here's the agent representing the partner that's going to measure and report the measurements from like carbon emissions. Here's the partner that's going to actually like help plant the trees, for example. And then having these agents backed up by the partners is like by each of the partners' knowledge, have a conversation with a specific goal to essentially simulate what the fit could be between them, and come up with any concerns or criticisms, objections, it's kind of like simulating the conversation between the partners of all, like a team member of each of those companies before it actually happens, so you can pre-vet that relationship and then consider whether it's something that should be made. But other than that, I don't know if I had a specific one. And other than ones I mentioned in the presentation, like thought Jan LeCun's was interesting. I was like, oh, how might I like implement this as a multi-agent system? So I scaffolded some of that code in Legos. That's another place where like if somebody's excited, go put some LLM calls in there, and let's see how that thing runs. And we just sort of implemented Jan LeCun's vision of a cognitive agent.
I think what's interesting could be that like if you can implement AutoGen with Legos, and have like an example, be like, this is AutoGen, this is implemented with Legos, or this is AutoGPT implemented. That would be really interesting. Like as a good like marketing, I think if you post it on Twitter and people would probably use it.
I think that would be cool. Yeah, I did do Crew AI with Legos, but I think Meta GPT would be the next one, and AutoGen also a big one as well.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, thank you so much for the space.
Yeah. Unicornus is typing, so I guess we'll wait a little to see what he has. Or feel free to like unmute as well. Okay, it's all good. Thank you so much, everyone. And as usual, these sessions will be posted on our YouTube. And Cyrus, and let's follow up with steps. Anyone has anything else that they want to share? We went like 18 minutes over. That's all good though. But thank you everyone for participating, and yeah, nice chatting. Have a good day.
Great presentation. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity. And looking forward to
Thanks.
chatting soon.
Great
Sasha. Take care.
presentation.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.